They are empowered, or there's a victim mindset. And I think a lot of people in life want to be the victims. And I think those are the ones that have trouble with adversity because they feel like the deck is stacked against them and there's something outside of their control that is keeping them from realizing their dreams. And so for me, I never want to take on the victim mindset. If I did not like something, perform better. And so it gave me this empowerment mindset that I could control what I was trying to achieve. And I think that's a really, really powerful. The mind is so powerful. Todd says it all the time, get your mind right. I am in control and I am empowered to determine what my future is going to be.
Welcome back to another episode of the Todd Durkin Impact Show. And happy holidays to you and yours. And I hope you're having an awesome entire holiday season. And I'm really excited to share with you today an interview that is going to rock your world. As you know, we recently wrapped up our annual retreat in beautiful Whitefish, Montana. And it was absolutely epic. All of our talks, Chris Young, Riley T. Jack, Jeremy Foster, Jeremy Gritton, all of the guest presenters. It went on, and we had an incredible time. But today, I want to share with you a very special friend. As a matter of fact, his name is Chris Young. Chris is the president of the Texas Rangers Major League Baseball team, and he's a dear friend of mine. I trained him for over a dozen years of his professional baseball career, and then upon his retirement from baseball, he went to New York and worked for the front offices and the commissioner of baseball, where he spent several years until he took a job with the Texas Rangers just a few years back. Now, as we go into this interview, it is candid, it is funny, it is deep, and Chris Young is one of the smartest men that I personally know. He is a graduate of Princeton University, where he played both basketball and baseball before embarking upon his professional baseball career. And with CY, one of the things you're going to hear is a man who won the World Series just a couple years ago, and he's going to tell you what he did to build his championship team and the leadership in which he needed to exude and in which he leads his entire organization with now as a leader. This talks baseball, but it really talks about life. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a businessman or businesswoman who's looking to become better in your own career, I know that this episode is going to help you. So I'm not going to steal any more thunder. We're going to go out to Whitefish, Montana right now and listen to the one and only Chris Young being interviewed by yours truly right now. I would say be in the room, and CY is in the room. You are coming right now from where? Where were you the last 3 days?
Las Vegas, Nevada. Yeah.
What were you doing there?
We had our industry president and general manager meetings every year this weekend. This year they were in Las Vegas, so it's a long 3 days, a lot of meeting, and you'll have to forgive my voice. I feel like I've inhaled a lot of casino smoke. But anyway, this is a real pleasure for me to be here. Todd, like many of you, has played a really important role in my life. Not only has he been a friend, a mentor, a trainer, but he's been someone that I look up to and turn to for advice. And not just when things are going badly, but when things are going goodly too, and going well, and how, we handle ourselves and what's next, and really what life is about. And so for me to be here tonight, TD, it's really special. I couldn't be happier to be here, and looking forward to being with you. And I will say, I am not a man of as many words as Todd's, and I'm not going to match his energy, but I love it nonetheless. And I feel it. So this is fun.
3 weeks ago, I was in Dallas, Texas at Mark Rodriguez's event, and I peeled away for a night to have dinner with Chris. And Chris was as stressed as I've ever seen him, because he had just fired one of his mentors, Bruce Bochy, right? And
it was not we amicably parted ways.
Okay. For the record,
that is accurate. Yes.
They amicably parted ways. But they parted ways, and he was stressed because he wanted to bring a new manager in, and he had to try to get that manager for the owner to approve this new manager. And he was on the phone and texting. I'm like, CY, you're living a dream right now. He's like, he looked at me like I was crazy. I said, you remember a few years ago you were playing ball and this is the position you wanted to be in. You're making the shot of who the next manager is. And he knew who he wanted to hire, but he didn't have the approval yet till the next morning on that. And now you just hired who?
Our new manager is Skip Schumacher. We hired him about a month ago, and Todd got to sort of be part of that night. I felt terrible. Todd's in town one night. We're having dinner. My phone's blowing up. I'm dealing with a million different things. It had been a long week. We had just completed an underachieving season, and Todd was kind of getting me at my worst, which actually, of all people to spend an evening with when you're at your worst, there's nobody better than Todd to pump you up. So it was actually like really fortuitous for me that Todd was there that night.
Thank you.
That was a compliment.
I know. Thank you. No, I actually take that to heart because I love when I get calls when people aren't at their best. I feel sometimes like I can do my best work when people need me. So thank you for that. It was great seeing you and your family.
Yeah.
Step back a few years before we go into all the management, playing baseball for, 15 years?
17 years professionally, 13 in the major leagues. And one of the things I say about my baseball career is that when I set out on this professional baseball career and the journey, I was 21 years old when I was drafted, and I had this vision that I'm going to have this wonderful Hall of Fame career, that it's just going to go according to plan and I'm going to be great. And it didn't play out that way. In fact, it played out with probably more lows than highs. But I did get to experience some of the great aspects of the game. I was a Major League All-Star. I got to win a World Series as a player. I was Comeback Player of the Year. But I also was on the operating table multiple times wondering if I'd wake up and be able to resume my career, and bounced around from team to teams. At times, couldn't find a job. Had teams not believe in me. And through all that, I learned the lessons in life. And for me, that's what I am forever grateful for. And the lessons that I learned throughout my career. And I get asked sometimes what I'm most proud of throughout that. And really, it's to be able to tell my kids that the lessons of resilience and perseverance and self-belief, it's so critically important. And so I hope that in some way, my career, can be an example for them and for anybody else. Because the reality is, we celebrate superstars, but most people are more like me in terms of their professional careers. And I, for every challenge that I got to encounter, it was an opportunity. It led me to something great, and I'm forever grateful for it.
Hey guys, don't forget, now is the best time of the year to get your God-sized dreams planner. That's right, your GSD planner. This is going to help you frame up your best year yet. And that is a fact. Your annual strategic plan is what you should be working on right now. Simply order your God-sized dreams planner, and you'll be able to do your annual strategic plan immediately. Why? Because it's 100% digital. You will receive the annual strategic plan as soon as you order it. Now, here's the deal. There's 10 sections in your annual strategic plan. My request is that you do at least the first 3 sections. These are mandatory. This is a reflection upon 2025, a look forward to 2026, where I give you all the prompts necessary that you could answer to craft up your best year. And of course, the 3rd section is all about your life. Deep questions are going to challenge you. If there's ever a time, it's right now to really work on your business and your life, your relationships, your happiness, your harmony, your success, and of course, your significance. Your annual strategic plan is going to allow you to do that. Simply go to todddurkin.com. That's www.todddurkin.com. Order your complete God-sized dreams planner system. That will give you your annual strategic plan, your monthly scheduler, which includes your 10 forms of wealth in 3 and 30 for all 12 months. And if you get those 2, you automatically get free your impact journal. And I'm a huge believer in journaling. That's right, your impact journal, that is for both the AM and the PM. If you want my complete system, this is your opportunity. You have holiday specials going on right now for less than $100. You get all 3 of those things. So hop over to todddurkin.com and get the complete God-sized dreams planner system. And that does include, again, your annual strategic plan, your monthly, weekly, and daily schedule, along with your impact journal. I can't wait to see you on the other side. Keep working hard, keep playing hard, and don't forget to create impact. God bless y'all. How old are the kids now?
Excuse me, I have a this is my Las Vegas cough. But a 17-year-old daughter who's a senior in high school, a 15-year-old son who's a freshman, and a 13-year-old son who's a seventh grader, and he's a spitting image of me, and he has all of my worst qualities.
Stepping back, I still remember some of your injuries. Go through them. You had your rib twice, right? Your foot, your feet. What are some of those surgeries you had?
Yeah, I had several injuries. Probably the first injury I really experienced in my professional career, and this was mid-career when I was pitching for the San Diego Padres. Todd was my trainer at the time. I was pitching in 2008 for the Padres against the St. Louis Cardinals and facing Albert Pujols, who was an MVP, Hall of Fame player. And he hit a line drive back at me, and it hit me right in the face. Shattered everything in my nose and down to my cranium. And this is kind of funny. I grew up in Texas, and I was a huge Nolan Ryan fan. Nolan Ryan sort of instilled my love of pitching. And as a Ranger fan, there was this moment when Nolan was pitching and he got hit with a comebacker off the bat of Bo Jackson. And so there's this famous photo of Nolan Ryan bleeding and standing. He stayed in the game and he's bleeding all game. His jersey is covered in blood. And he stayed in the game. So this is my idol. So I get hit in the face and I can't see. All I see is blood coming out. And the trainer gets out there and I tell him, well, if Nolan Ryan stayed in the game, then I better stay in the game. So I said, stop the bleeding and I'll keep going. And immediately the trainer says, oh, he's concussed. And so anyway, they didn't let me stay in the game. I came out. I missed the next 3 months with this injury. I was on the couch because it fractured my cranium, and there was an open passageway from my sinuses to my brain, and they were worried about meningitis. And all I could think about is I want to get back out there. And as that season went, there was one of my teammates got hurt, and the team just really went in the tank that year, and we were on pace to lose 100 games. And so this whole time that I'm working to get back, I was thinking, what am I coming back for? Not only do I want to get back out there personally to prove that I can, overcome the psychological aspect of getting hit in the face, but the team, we cannot lose 100 games. I'm not going to be part of a 100-loss team. And fought my way back, made it back that September, and won our 63rd game of the season that year, which sealed that we would be no worse than a 99-loss team. And for me, I was very proud of that because it meant something that, all the work was worth it. And with all of my injuries, I was able to find motivation and something to work towards to get back. So that was the first one. That was followed by 3 shoulder surgeries, which really kind of stalled out the prime years of my career. And those were hard, but there were a couple moments where I thought that was the end and I was ready to give up. And when your livelihood depends on your arm and you go under the knife, you obviously have no idea how you're going to come out of it. And each time I just said, this is a new challenge. And I came out of it better than before, more mentally than physically. My every one knocked a couple miles an hour off my velocity, but nonetheless, the motivation, the confidence, the perseverance, and all those things that you need to succeed. It almost felt like by the third time I just knew what I was signing up for and said, all right, let's go. Let's do it again.
And one of those times you were hurt and you were out, I still remember on the back wall throwing medicine balls, boom, boom, and he wasn't signed. And I remember him saying, "You think I can still play basketball?" I'm like, with those feet, I'm not sure you could. But he was thinking about going to play professional basketball because he played basketball and baseball at Princeton. He was a 2-star athlete at Princeton, so he had the love of basketball. Now he's hurt in baseball. He's like, maybe I'll just go play basketball overseas or try to get to the NBA because I know I can match up in the NBA. So that was one. I still remember that mindset. Here he is. He's not signed. He's like, can I go play professional basketball? The second one was, it sticks out to me because I can know exactly where I was at Fitness Quest 10 on the first floor, the first, if you call it first field. And he was talking about baseball, which is what do you call it? A losing, you fail more than you succeed. And if you hit 300, you're going to be a Hall of Famer. He's talking about a game of failure. Baseball is a game of failure. And someday I want to change the culture in baseball so that the locker rooms are full of positivity. I remember that vividly right now as he, sits here. And that's what he's done with the Texas Rangers. It's what he did with Major League Baseball in the front offices. But that was the mindset of CY, because you talk about focused, disciplined, wasn't partying, wasn't drinking, wasn't out carousing. He ate, I tell the kids, he ate, breathed, slept baseball and doing things the right way with his family. And this man is now in a position to do great things for the rest of his career because of those setbacks that Chris just shared. You remember those experiences?
Yeah, but those experiences are what shaped me, and I'm grateful for those experiences. And really, Todd, what you're talking about is not just applicable to baseball; it's applicable to life, in my opinion. And it's the choice you make on a daily basis to surround yourself with positive people that bring out the best in you. And one of the first things that I did when I took over as the head of the Texas Rangers is I surveyed our organization and asked, what are our core values? What are we about? And it was a very enlightening experience for me because of the whole organization, just our employees, non-players, 250 employees, the most common response was only 9%. 9% of the people said we're about family. And it really hit me like we don't have direction. We don't have a value system that is going to allow us and push us forward, allow us to succeed. And so I spent the next 6 months, it was literally the first thing I did. I spent the next 6 months with the head of our leadership and development department working on what our core values should be. And, I'll never forget, I was in the weight room in our spring training facility in Surprise, Arizona, and we had, the walls were just plastered in sayings and expressions and, all great quotes and words, but I just felt like it's so broad and it's so immense that nobody has true direction. And I had one elliptical machine that I loved every morning. I'm in there at 6 a.m. and I'm staring at this quote on the back wall that was from Artilla the Hun. And it said, hurdle the dead, trample the weak, or something to that effect. And I just kept thinking, like, for 6 weeks, thinking, like, what does that have to do with what we're trying to accomplish? So in that process of redefining our core values, I wanted to redo our branding and really be about what our core values are. And so we spent a lot of time doing it. And we came up with really 3 things that I thought encapsulate a lot of different attributes that are necessary to win, but 3 things for the Texas Rangers that were right for us. And the first one is be a good teammate. Be a good teammate. It's pretty self-explanatory, right? And for me, that means, can you every day show up with a common goal and purpose, not for yourself, but for the collective group? And can you bring out the best in those around you? That to me is being a good teammate. The second one is compete with passion. Compete with passion. I always say baseball is a really tough sport for the reasons that Todd said, that it's a game of failure. And you have to have, and it's a long season. It is a very long season. We start in mid-February, and if you're lucky enough to play to the end, it goes till November 1st. And so it is a long, long year. It's a mental grind. You have to be highly competitive to be good at baseball. You have to be highly competitive, and you have to have a love and a passion for the game. And I don't think you can have one without the other and succeed for long, because the game will punch you in the face. And if you do not love it and you are not competitive, it's going to be hard to keep standing up and responding to those punches. So be a good teammate, compete with passion. I always say that those are 2/3 of our values. And for me, those are not anything specific to your talent, to anybody's talent, whether it's a player or a front office member. 66% of our core values are a choice. It's an attitude, a choice that you make on a daily basis in terms of being a Texas Ranger. And then the third thing is really the only area that I think is respective to an individual's talent. And it's also an overarching style of play that I wanted us to have, which is we call dominate the fundamentals. Dominate the fundamentals. Let's be very good at the fundamentals. Let's take care of the basics. Because if we do those things well, the big things will happen and they'll fall into place. And so, and also what that means for us is, like, let's not take, I'm going to make a basketball analogy. Let's not take the point guard and make him a center. whatever you are, let's be great at that skill set. Let's not chase everything. Let's be great at that skill set. So dominate the fundamentals in terms of the style of play, dominate the fundamental aspects of what makes you as an individual successful, and compete with passion and be a good teammate. And those three things have given our organization immense direction. And it's funny because I get our employees often coming up to me saying that is the number one thing that they are grateful for in terms of our leadership and our culture, is that they have direction.
How hard was it to change the culture? Because you think about this, 250 employees, and then you got your players. Now you have to change a culture or set the culture. What did you do with the employees as well as the players to say, this is what we stand for? But then you got to change it on a daily, consistent basis, because the words on the wall don't mean anything if they're not reinforced.
Yeah, there are a few different aspects, and the reality, TD, is that I didn't think it was that hard because I believed it. I believed it, so I wasn't there. There was no faking it. There was no trying to convince people. It's just simply we're going to live this, and collectively we're going to live this. And I think there were a couple different aspects to it. The first of which was eliminating the toxicity, eliminating the negativity. If people could not fit into our environment, everybody deserved a chance. But if you prove that you could not fit into our environment and you could not commit to the common goal, that you were more worried about the individual self, it probably wasn't a fit for our organization. So that was the first step. The second piece was what I just talked about, defining our values, giving everybody direction and something that they can anchor to in terms of what we're about. And then the third piece is accountability, just really staying accountable and true to those values and the positive attitude and energy. And then I guess the fourth is belief, and just saying, and that sort of becomes self-fulfilling. The more good people you hire, the more people who buy into the belief and the common purpose, it creates momentum. It creates momentum. And so that's why it, in my opinion, it came together very quickly.
What was the first one you said? The first point of those four?
Eliminating toxicity.
How? So let's just say there's someone in your organization that is toxic. How did you make those moves?
Well, it first was, everybody deserves a chance. So it starts with a conversation and expressing what we're about and what the expectation is in terms of behavior and teamwork. And then from there, monitoring those behaviors, and when those behaviors weren't exemplified, addressing them in the moment in a respectful manner, but addressing them nonetheless. And then at a certain point, after it's been addressed multiple times, you have to make a hard call as to whether that person's a fit for the organization. And so that, it's a necessary part of improving the environment.
Did you have a tough time? Now, see, why still young for his position. Did you have a tough time having those tough conversations with players or personnel that you had to have because of they didn't align with your belief?
Yeah, when I first took the job, one of the things I was really nervous about was how I was going to have those conversations with players. Right. I really thought it's going to be hard. These are guys that have made a lot of money, a lot of success, and they've got egos, and how am I going to, even though I was one, how am I going to get through to them? As it turns out, the player conversations are 100 times easier than the kind of front office employee conversations. The players are in the ultimate meritocracy, and their work is defined, their success is defined on the field, and you really can't argue with the results. And it's the beauty of being a player that, the reality is that every day you get to see how you did and how you fared and how you stacked up. It's a little harder to measure on a daily basis, a nightly basis, how any individual employee that's not a player is performing. So, and a lot of those people don't necessarily see the evaluation the same way. And so the employee conversations are much more difficult. The player conversations are very accountable, are very easy, because I always start with asking questions about, hey, Todd, what do you want to accomplish in your career? What do you want to be? And normally the expectation the player has for himself is much greater than what we see as a front office that player being able to accomplish, which I love. That's how they should think, right? That's what got him to the major leagues. And then so from there, it's to us about aligning their behaviors with their goals, their expectations. And if their goals are too high and their behaviors are too low, we have to align those. So we either have to improve the behaviors or lower the goals. And so it's really easy to have those conversations once you've established from the player and their words what they are looking to accomplish, because then you can hold them accountable to that because they said it, not us.
Yep. So preaching about culture, they're going to be more likely to follow. But when you're starting to lose and tank, you start having some de factos.
We didn't tank.
You start losing, and
tanking is losing intentionally. We have never lost intentionally.
So is it harder to reinforce those values when you are losing, or you're now out of the playoffs and you have de factos going in different directions because you have to reinforce the values, and you have big money guys that they're just playing because they need to play, but they're not playing with the passion that you want?
Yeah. It's a great question. I think one of the lessons I've learned since 2023 in winning, and I saw this as a player too in 2015 with the Kansas City Royals, we won the World Series. And then the following year, we had a 500 year. And in 2023, we won the World Series with the Texas Rangers. And then the next 2 years have been subpar. We've truly underachieved. We go into the season with projections and a pretty good idea of what our team should be. This past season, we had on paper a team that should have competed for the American League Championship, and we underachieved. And it was a really, really tough thing to watch. And so what I say is that the lessons in winning are very valuable, because sustained success is hard. It's really hard. And sometimes winning covers up the warts. It covers up the problems. And if you don't address those in the moment, they're hard to correct after the fact. And it was one of the things that after we won in 2023, one of my colleagues with another team called me, and he said he had won 2 world championships previously. And he called me and said, I've got one piece of advice for you. Turn over your roster. Change out about 30% of your roster. And of course, we had just won the World Series 3 weeks before. I love these players. I'm emotionally attached to them. And I said, hey, man, I appreciate it, but our culture is different. We've got it figured out. We're different. These guys are great. But inevitably, success can affect people, and it can affect a group environment differently unless you have a 100% commitment to the team goals. And so what we've seen the last 2 years is, probably a little more individualism than we would like. It's not what made us successful. And we are now, part of the changes we've made this offseason are to get back to this team mentality. And our roster is going to turn over, and we're going to get the collective buy-in. And one of my core beliefs as a player, and this is probably because I was a player with a lot less talent than most. So, but it is what I believe, is that winning is not about the most talent. It's about the right collection of people that come together. And I will take less talent if it's the right group of people that come together. And that's ultimately what it's about. So we have to get our team reconnected in a way that's going to bring out the best in them.
Yep. Yeah, you could clap. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. Didn't you share with me a couple years ago that the Rangers were the first organization to start a culture department? Didn't you start a culture department where guys like Nick came in and you guys were trying to build a culture, setting the tone for all of Major League Baseball that would soon follow?
Yeah, I don't know if we're the first team to do that. We prioritized a leadership and development department, and mainly for our minor league players. I mean, we have over 200 players in our organization. 26 of them are major leaguers, but the rest of them are minor leaguers trying to fight their way up to the major leagues. A lot of them came from high school. We have about 35% of our organization is Latin American. They have really zero education. They dropped out of school and trained to become professional baseball players at the age of 8, 9, 10 years old. And so providing our players resources and development opportunities to help them so that when they get close to their goals, I mean, ultimately that's what our jobs are in the front office. It's to help each of our players realize their individual dream. And if they do collectively, we'll succeed. So investing in them as people first and players second, and helping them with all the pitfalls of what being a professional athlete looks like. Our group does a tremendous job, and I'm really, really proud of the work that we've done there.
Chris, was there a lesson that you would share? Maybe you learned this in high school at Highland Park, Princeton, one of the major league teams. Maybe it was major league front offices. Maybe it was the Rangers. Is there a lesson that shaped you as a young man up until where you're at now in your career that you could share with them that you say, this lesson is a lesson that I still carry today because in high school or college when I was young, I hold on to this to shape me how I lead today?
Yeah, TD, that's a great question because I you're putting me on the spot. You told me you wouldn't put me on the spot.
You're sharp. You think quick.
He does a lot.
I just love conversations. Like, these are deep conversations.
No, because I think this question requires some thought. I have thousands of life lessons that have influenced me and taught me.
Kelly, we need a book. Kelly, you need a book. Need a book.
Oh, I need help knowing where to start. The life lessons, my whole childhood, whether it's been in athletics or school, my parents, their work ethic, just so many aspects have shaped who I am, and sort of the open-mindedness to continue to grow and learn. And I think the one thing I say, respected to leadership specifically, is like, I don't have it figured out by any means. I mean, I do my best on a daily basis, and I try to stand for what I believe in, but I'm constantly learning, and I don't have all the answers. I say I remind our people that none of us have all the answers, that be open-minded and listen to others and be respectful. And at some point you have to make decisions, and you stick by those decisions, and you hope you've made those decisions for the right reasons. You have the right processes, but TD, one specific lesson I can't say. What I can say is just the power of belief and the power of positivity and the power of just constantly, believing and fighting and working towards a common goal, even when things get tough. And every challenge that I received in my life, I truly viewed as an opportunity. And at the time, it doesn't necessarily feel like it. And then all of a sudden, you take a day or two, and your mind sort of switches, and you say, okay, I'm up for this challenge.
Yeah. I can share this. Who you train with matters. Who you exercise with matters. For over 12 years, I was working with CY. Many times it'd be one-on-one, but there were many times we had great groups. Chris would always ask, who's in the group today? Who's coming today? He wanted to know who he was around. Who was he going to be with? Because he was particular because of one reason. He wanted to work. He didn't want to be dilly-dallying around. And I know what he was after. It's the same as DB. He wanted to work. And he's like, I'm going to go by myself. If he didn't, the group, he's like, can we go one-on-one? Yeah. I knew what he meant. He didn't need to say anything else. But that maniacal focus on greatness is a conversation we'd have year after year. As a player, now in the front office, as a father, we've had, like, if you're going to step up, we talk about the standard is a standard, step into the standard of greatness. And when you fail, that is a learning lesson, we move forward. But we've had countless conversations. But one of the things I was going after is that who you train with matters. Who you exercise with matters. All of it matters. Who you're in the front office with matters. In your office, who are you around? Who you learning from, who you being mentored by, all of it matters. And this guy's maniacal about that. Maniacal.
I want to share one of my favorite stories about an off-season training with Todd. And we had a great group of professional athletes, both Major League Baseball and NFL players coming in. And Todd would kind of blend this and put us together. And about midwinter, one off-season, I was pitching for the Padres, and our rival in competition in our division was the Los Angeles Dodgers. And Todd said, hey, there's a LA Dodger coming in today, and he's going to train with us. And this is about mid-off season. So we're in pretty good shape. And for those of you that have been through Todd's workouts, oftentimes the warm-ups are the hardest part. So this guy's coming in for the first time. He's not trained with us. We're all in pretty good shape. And he's the rival. And so I said to Todd before the workout, I said, hey, turn it up today.
He did. He did. He didn't last.
Turn it up, because at some point I want this guy getting queasy and feeling sick, and we're going to keep going, and he's going to bow out. And when I'm facing him on the mound next year, I want him to remember that workout and who was able to make it through and who wasn't.
Now you're meeting the real CY. See? He's like, Now you're hearing the truth.
Yeah,
So since you're there, Chris,
He still homered off me that year, Todd.
just talk, because I love this story. Just listen to it. I know you don't like talking about this, but I think it's hilarious. Chicago Cubs. This guy, you wouldn't think he's a fighter, but he got in a little scuffle. Can you just talk about that and what happened the next day?
The last time I'm coming to your event.
Yeah, because the next day is hilarious. Just talk about
It's
this.
a year later, but your
Talk
facts
about-
sort of blend
talk
together.
about
But
it.
that's all right.
Talk about it.
I did get in one brawl as a major league player, and it was 2007. I was pitching for the Padres. We were playing the Chicago Cubs. We were in first place at the time. They were in first place. It was mid-June. In fact, it was Father's Day weekend, and my wife's family had never been to Wrigley Field. My father-in-law had never been to Wrigley Field, so he came to Wrigley that Father's Day weekend to see Wrigley Field and watch me pitch. And so they had a pitcher named Carlos Zambrano who started the game. He was like a Cy Young candidate that year. I was having a great year, an all-star caliber year, and it was the fourth inning of the game. I had not given up a hit yet. He had not given up a hit. And their number 3 hitter in the lineup was up to bat, a big guy named Derek Lee, he's 6'7". He was a really good player. And so I got ahead in the count, got him to swing at a couple of pitches, and then I threw a pitch kind of inside, and it was close to hitting him. It kind of brushed him back, and it hit the knob of his bat. And the umpire ruled it a hit by pitch, and the catcher and umpire started arguing, and so he started walking to first base, and there had been some bad blood the night before between the two teams, and I had no intention whatsoever of hitting him. I knew that there was a very small margin of error that night with the opposing pitcher. But he took offense to it and kind of came out. He was a veteran player. I was in my third major league season, and he kind of looked me in the eye and challenged me. And I felt like I have one of two responses. I can kind of back down or I can stand my ground. And I chose to stand my ground. And anyway, one thing led to the next, and we were throwing punches and we both got ejected in the third inning when my father-in-law had come all the way to see me at Wrigley Field. So.
And it was all over Sports Center, and you see Derek Lee and CY just throwing 6'7" versus 6'10" punches. It was better than the fight the night before on UFC. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But keep going.
The cool part about this, and I think there's some level of divine intervention here, but Derek Lee was known as one of the nice guys in baseball, and I think I had a reputation somewhat similar. And so anyway, a year later, we went back to Chicago, and the team wasn't doing well, and it was an off day. And I said, I'm going to just kind of take a personal day and go tour Chicago. And I went to the Chicago Aquarium and spent a couple hours there by myself walking around. And I turned the corner, and I bump into this guy right in my face, my size, and it's Derek Lee. And he goes, "Hey, man, what are you doing here?" And I said, "Oh, Derek, it's been a long year. Like, I needed a mental break." And he goes, "Oh, me too, man." And so we made up in the Chicago Aquarium a year later.
I had to share that with y'all. See, that stuff, the public doesn't know that, but I love that story. Like, two good players.
And he's an unbelievable human being, a great person. It just shows you in the heat of the moment in competition, like it changes your personality. And I sometimes didn't like the way I had to feel when I was on the mound. I was not somebody who was talented enough to go out there and have fun while I worked. The fun part for me was walking off the mound or walking off the field at the end of the night, knowing I did my job and I helped my team win. But in the moment, it was a fight for me every single time. And so it really flipped a switch. And, that's what I had to do. Some guys could go out there and smile and laugh and enjoy it. That wasn't my personality because I felt like I wasn't talented enough. And the second I lost focus, I wasn't going to be able to keep up with the talent of the major league players.
If you ever go and talk to someone in the baseball circles at any level, if they know baseball, especially at the highest level, and you ask them about Chris Young, it could go back 20, 25 years, and they're going to say the best things about CY. Because I always say this, right? The way you treat someone matters the most, and they don't forget. The reputation that he has across all teams and organizations from the time he was playing, I'd be talking to other people like, "Oh, Chris Young, he's the best. He's going to have a great future in baseball," because he treated everyone with respect. And I think to this day, all the way up to the Texas Rangers now, you go across baseball, you go across pro sports, when Chris Young's name comes up, it's because the way he's treated people his entire career. In the clubhouse, when Chris comes in, the guys respect Chris. They did when he was with the Padres. How you treat people is everything. How you treat them even when the chips are down and you're not having the best season or you're hurt. They always went to CY as a leader. And that's why I'm talking here about leadership in all aspects of life and not just baseball. And Chris, the one thing I want to share here in our retreat, which is all themed Ignite, as I shared, is there a point in your life ever that you face such adversity that you now look back as it's one of the biggest blessings that you've ever received? Whether it's personal, whether it's professional, like an injury or something you went through or the death of a close one. Was there ever like any serious adversity you went through, because there's people in here that are going through or recently have been through adversity or will soon go through adversity, and it becomes a big blessing?
Yeah, Todd, I truly believe, none of us look forward to adversity, right? Because it means there's going to be a challenge that we're either not expecting or not prepared for completely, or we don't know what the outcome is going to be on the other side of adversity. But I truly say every time I've faced adversity in my life, it's led to something. It's led to a great opportunity, and I've been able to make the most out of it. And it's sort of similar in a more simple way. A lesson I share with my own kids when they get down on themselves. They say, "Oh, Dad, it wasn't my best game." And I say, "Well, if every day was your best game, you'd never have a best game." And so I think that's like the beauty of adversity, right? Is that it really makes you appreciate the great times. And I think the moments where I've really been faced with adversity, I try to, do two things. One, be grateful for everything that I have, that somebody else has bigger challenges, probably tougher challenges than I do.
Yeah.
And, if they can get through their challenges, I should be able to get through mine. That's the first thing I do. And secondly, it's just I sort of commit to a mindset and say, okay, this is part of it. And I set small goals and start working towards those goals. And you don't know how it's going to play out. You have hope that it will play out the way you want. And oftentimes my whole career, it didn't necessarily go the way I wanted, but every opportunity led to something that I'm extremely grateful for, and it's shaped who I am. So I welcome adversity, and it's one of the things that I think makes life great, honestly.
How? When you're going through adversity, you welcome it. What do you do when you're going through adversity? Versus, hey, come on, adversity. Do you talk to people? Do you work out? What is your way to cope with adversity?
Even right now, exercise is a huge outlet for me. I need it every day. I mean, if I don't get if I go 2 days in a row without getting exercise, it's almost mentally now where it's become like I literally feel like I'm sweating out my stress. And so that's a big outlet for me. So exercise, and then just setting small goals and focusing on what is within my control. Yeah. And then the other part too that I say all the time to our players and our organization is I sort of feel there are two different types of personalities in life. There are people that believe they're in charge of their life or their career. They are empowered, or there's a victim mindset. And I think a lot of people in life want to be the victims. And I think those are the ones that have trouble with adversity because they feel like the deck is stacked against them and there's something outside of their control that is keeping them from realizing their dreams. And so for me, I never want to take on the victim mindset. If I don't like something, and this was a mantra for me as a player, it is a performance-based game. If I did not like something, perform better. And so it gave me this empowerment mindset that I could control what I was trying to achieve. And I think that's a really, really powerful. The mind is so powerful. Todd says it all the time, get your mind right. And I think it is so powerful. And it's certainly, I was blessed in a lot of ways, I think my dad had an athlete's mindset and he passed it down to me, but he this mindset of like, I am in control and I am empowered to determine what my future is going to be.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned your dad. One of the exercises I'm going to lead, you'll see it on Saturday, is your mom or dad, if they passed, or someone that you love if they passed. I want to ask you a question. What do you think your late dad would say to you today about where you're at today? What do you say to you?
Well, he would just say he's proud. I mean, he would say he's proud. One of the things my dad did that was great is he never put pressure on me. I mean, he was just so great. He played college football at TCU. Did not make me play football, which in Texas was really hard to do growing up as a kid. But he just was always supportive, and he never came down on me, never was hard on me, unless it was something that was attitude or effort related. But beyond that, he never put pressure on me. So he would say he's proud. And a story, you asked about experiences earlier that have shaped me, and one of the experiences that has shaped me was that in 2015, I was pitching for the Kansas City Royals. My dad was 70 years old, and he had a form of cancer called multiple myeloma, had been fighting it for about 3.5 years, was doing fine. His cancer levels were fine. But started a new chemo and had an adverse reaction to the chemo, and just the body started going into septic shock, and he passed away late in September that year. And we were in a pennant race. I was in Kansas City and scheduled to pitch the next day. My sister called me at about 6:30 that night, 30 minutes before the game, the night before I was scheduled to pitch, and said, "Hey, Dad's not feeling well. We're going to take him into the hospital." And then by 11:30 that night, he had passed away. And we were in a pennant race. I had a 12 noon game the next day, and I called our general manager and said, "My dad just passed away," and I was devastated. And he said, "You need to go home." And I said, "No, my dad would want me to pitch." So I stayed and pitched the next day. It was the team needed me. I mean, I felt like I had 25 teammates that needed me. They didn't have anybody else to pitch. We were in a point in the season where every game mattered. So I pitched, and I threw 5 no-hit innings that day. It was a beautiful Sunday afternoon. And it was the most peaceful experience of my life. I felt like I was just out on the mound by myself with my dad right there. And it was just this unbelievable experience for me. And that was something that it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my athletic career. But it was also one of the most fulfilling ones. And, it showed me that, like, hey, in these moments that are hard, just focus on what you can control. I felt like my dad was with me. And while I had these emotions, I compartmentalized it, and then flew home immediately after the game and celebrated my dad.
Remember vividly. Remember talking to Melanie. I was up filming Strong, watching the Royals win and watching you pitch that game on set in Calabasas, California, right in Malibu. And I remember being teared up, knowing what was going on, and so proud of you, man. So proud to see you just in the flow state. In the athlete world, we call it the flow state. And you don't hit it a lot, but when you do, it's a beautiful thing to watch. And he hit it, and I think there was some divine intervention there. But Chris, the last couple of questions I have are just more personal, like you as a dad, you as a father. We have a lot of parents in the house here. How do you view it, parenthood, and what wisdom would you give, knowing what you know, because none of us have it all figured out still? But what's your approach to now as a busy exec? You've got a great wife in Liz, and you got the kids, and you're jetting back tomorrow to see a game. You got you're jet setting and all, but how do you do it all with your schedule?
Well, I feel like, Todd, I don't do any of it well. That's the first thing, is that I joked to my wife. I said, every day I feel like I'm letting somebody down, whether it's at work or at home, and it's a terrible feeling for me to feel like I'm disappointing, because there aren't enough hours in the day to give meaningfully to my entire organization and all the people. And so, and there are times where just the stress of the job or just the magnitude of it becomes challenging, where, I may have 10 items in a day that I'm dealing with, and 9 of the 10 I handle really, really well. But that 10th one is like, it's the one that kind of trips me or triggers me a little bit. And so every day I feel like I just, I do my best to stay positive, to give everybody the attention they deserve and the time they deserve. But I think one of the main things that I have to do on a daily basis, it kind of comes back to one of our core values, dominate the fundamentals. Every day I have to prioritize my day and say, where are the most important places that I need to spend my time? And family is one of those to the extent I can. But I think one of the things, I'm so lucky to have a wife who makes our home go. I mean, our kids, if they turn out good kids, it's because of her, not me, because she's the one raising them. But and then just sacrifice and be around as much as I can. I want to be there for them and be present in their lives. But within our family, we have a couple mantras, and they're very simple. It's just be a good person, make good decisions. It's not anything complicated. And then as it relates to sports, I always tell them, worry about the controllables. You can control your effort, you can control your attitude, and you can control the energy that you give to your teammates. And those are the things. And judge your games based on that. You're not gonna succeed. You're not gonna make every shot. You're not gonna get a base hit every time up. But are you controlling the things that you can control? And if you can, then grade yourself out, on that. And those are the things that we kind of talk about in our family.
Do the American youth need to hear this message more? Come on. This is great. Well,
I actually think that it's not the American youth, it's the American parents that need to hear it, because
their parents do.
I go to all these youth games, and it's really funny because when I go to watch my 13-year-old go to his games, I feel like I get the best behavior of everybody when I'm there, because they know that, in Texas, they know who I am, and I show up, and all of a sudden these crazy coaches become very calm. But one of the things about youth sports is that, two things. The goal of youth sports for me, and I'm sorry to
this is great.
divert here, but I'm passionate about this.
This is great.
The goal of youth sports for me, really two main things. The first of which is that we're giving kids a positive experience so that they're going to love the sport, and if they love it, they're going to come back and do it the next year. And when you have crazy parents or coaches, you're going to take that love out of the kid. You're going to take it right out of them. But if we want kids to enjoy and love sports, you've got to instill that in them. And parents' behaviors, coaches' behaviors are a big part of that. The second one is that, is there not a better place in life than youth sports for kids to fail and learn life's lessons in a safe environment? That to me is what, like, the best part of youth sports is that this is the safest environment for them to learn life lessons. And if we make them fearful of those things, or we punish them for those things with our actions and our disappointment, then we're teaching them the wrong lessons. So that's, for me, very, very important as it relates to youth sports.
So if you were the commissioner of youth sports, how do you change the culture? Because it's going toward perfectionism, and if you fail, you get yelled at by the coaches. So how do you change that? Because typically those coaches didn't have elite athletic careers, and they're blowing the kids up so the kids aren't confident. What would you do? Because that theoretically makes a lot of sense, but how do you change the culture of that?
I mean, for me, it would start with finding ways to hold coaches accountable. And, when you see behaviors of crazy coaches or language or actions that may not match what we want to instill in the youth, and there's got to be a league or some sort of, commissioner that will hold them accountable and say, hey, these are not the behaviors. If you're going to coach in this league, you're going to clean up these behaviors. And if you don't like it, go elsewhere.
Love it. My last two questions. Number one, in a year from now, November of 2026, we're all in this room, and Chris was to come back and speak. And you're going to go through this exercise Saturday afternoon. In the next year, what are you going to manifest in your mind, in your head? What has to be done between now and November 13th, 2026, in order for you to achieve all the goals that you set out to win a world championship? Called a decree. A decree you're going to work on Saturday, because we are going to manifest over the next 2 days what we're going to do in the next year to live the life that you want to live. And it might have to do with baseball, it might have to do with parenting, but what's going to happen?
Yeah, it's less about winning the World Series and more about creating the environment that will give us the opportunity to be in position to do that.
Good.
And for me, one of the most difficult and disappointing aspects of this past season was that we did underachieve. And I say to our people internally all the time, Baseball, Todd alluded to earlier, is a very numbers-driven sport, and we have extreme modeling and algorithms and projection systems that can tell us really how to construct a roster, how to build a team, and what that team should perform to. But that's on paper. That's on paper. What brings out the best in the team and the people is the environment. And so for me, what I want to measure our success against is those projections in terms of, we project everybody at their 50th percentile outcome. We don't say, hey, these guys are going to perform at their 75th percentile outcome. We just say, if they are average this year, if they play at their average level, this is what we should expect. But for me, the goal is, how do we create the environment that's going to get them to their 60th percentile outcome, their 70th percentile, and for some of them, their 80th or 90th. And if we do that on the whole, and the majority of our players outperform their projection, we will be a championship caliber team. And so this past season, when we had, it was really our pitchers, it was such a weird year for us because our pitching was literally the best in baseball. We gave up the fewest runs in all of baseball, but our offense was a fatal flaw. We actually thought the strength of our team was going to be our offense. So we did not meet our projections on the offensive end. So how do we create the environment to get the best out of our players? And if we do that, then we will have the opportunity. The World Series is going to be a byproduct of doing that. So that's what my goal would be for our organization.
So good. So good. I had the opportunity to sit with CY when the Rangers came to play the Padres, and I could see his wheels turning watching the game. I was wondering what he's thinking about watching the game. Because when he talks about fundamentals, I watched a guy ground out and not sprint down to first base. And I'm seeing this guy over here, because I know him so well, steam coming out of his ears. Like I could just see the stress of he didn't run out all the way through first base. And he's trying to be jovial because Melanie's there and the families are there. And I could see where just him, he'd be like, what is going on? We talk about stressing the fundamentals in that. He breathes it. He lives it. Every play, whether he's down 4 runs or up 4 runs, it doesn't matter. I've seen that, and I know how maniacal he is about that. So I love what you had to say about that, Chris, because
well, that just goes back to effort. I mean, it's one of the things I just talked about, and there are things that we can control, and that is a fundamental. If you're going to be a Texas Ranger, we're going to play the game the right way. We're not going to win every night, but if we get beat and we did things the right way, hey, that's baseball. You're playing the best players in the world nightly. I mean, you're going to lose. Every team loses 60 games over the course of a season. And every team wins 60, and it's what you do with those other 60 that define your season.
Last question. Y'all know I love the word legacy. What is your life about? And if we had to talk about legacy for your life, and we define legacy of what your life stands for, and we'll have a chance the next few days. Now, so I wanted to see why to open up the retreat here tonight, speaking about life and leadership on all levels. Think about your legacy. Chris, I know you don't love to think way down the line, but if there's a few dreams that you'd like to see happen in your life that maybe in 3 years or 5 years or 10 years, do you have any big dreams that you have personally and professionally that you're like, maybe I would like to do this someday? It's part of my legacy with my family and the name Chris Young of what you stand for.
Yeah. Todd, it's funny because I really don't think in terms of that. And I don't know why. I did through my playing career. I wanted to maximize my playing career. And one of the best aspects of my job now is that I've sort of accomplished everything I set out to accomplish in the game of baseball. I got to live it as a player. I was part of a world championship team. I was comeback player of the year. I was an all-star. I got to live out my dreams. The best part of my job now is helping others realize their dreams. And that's ultimately the most fulfilling aspect of being the president of the team is that, but it's hard. And when I see us underachieve like we did this year, I just think what do we need to change to do that? But ultimately it's really about helping our players and our staff members achieve something, which is, and I say it all the time internally, that I want every person in our organization, whether they're a player or a coach or a front office member, to realize their dreams, and that the Texas Rangers develop them in some way in helping them, whether it's internally or they go on to lead and do great things. And one of the things I'm most proud of right now is that in the past 2 years, we've had two people within our organization go on to lead other organizations, and one of whom is a dear friend of Todd and mine, Nick Hundley, former San Diego Padre, who actually turned down a managerial opportunity this year and is returning to the Rangers. But he's going to have limitless opportunities. But it shows to me that we're, one, choosing good people, and two, we're helping them realize their dreams. So that. I guess that would be it. Is that we're creating a pathway for people to realize their dreams, and that we're helping others. I'm highly competitive. I love what I do. There are more tough moments than there are great moments in my job, but those great moments are the moments where I get to see people realize their dreams and celebrate together. And it's almost like a drug. There's a euphoria that I can't even describe when that happens. And it makes all of those hard moments worth it. So I guess that would be it. I can't tell you what the legacy looks like, aside from just, I want to win more championships and help people realize their dreams.
And it was Nick and Will Venable.
Round of applause.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. Will. Yep.
So the second guy was Will Venable, now with the Chicago White Sox. So when CY would ask, who's in our training group? Guess who the training group was? It was Hundley, Will Venable, CY, and a few of the other guys. Now Will is with the White Sox, right? So
it's really cool for me because we were teammates with the Padres, Nick Hundley, Will Venable, and I, and I got to the chance. I've had the chance to work with both of those guys. Will has now left the Rangers and is the manager of the Chicago White Sox. Nick Hundley had the opportunity to go manage the San Francisco Giants this offseason, turned it down. The Padres interviewed him, and he turned them down and has come back to the Rangers. So he'll be managing at some point here soon. But it's really cool that our roots go back to Fitness Quest 10 and Todd Durkin and the impact he's made on our lives. It's really, really cool.
Wow. Oh, wow. Did that interview wow you as much as me? Man, Chris Young absolutely brought the heat. And when you listen in, sometimes it's worth listening 2 or 3 times over and over again because of the wisdom that he dispensed today. When you hear him talk, my question to you is, how can you be a better leader? What can you do for your, quote, team or your family or even yourself even better these days? As we're in the holiday season right now, we're working on your God-sized dreams planner, your annual strategic plan, and you're framing up 2026 to be your best year ever. I challenge you to step up in your leadership. And Chris Young has always been someone that has set a very high standard for himself personally and professionally, and he's always stepped into that. He's always surrounded himself with the right people. He's trained with the right athletes. He's always asked me about the edge and what he can do to create the edge, and it's no different now. And lastly, I'll say this. Chris Young is someone who gets the mindset aspect, the get your mind right mentality. Get your mind right, get your mind right, get your mind right. If there's ever a time to get your mind right as we head into 2026 and try to lead our families, our businesses, and our lives the best possible, Chris Young is someone that you really want to continue to watch. I hope we have a few new Texas Ranger fans, even if you have other teams that you root for in baseball, but I'm a huge Chris Young fan. I hope you are as well. I hope you enjoyed that episode. Hey, if you could do me a favor, please, if that brought any value to you, can you please share that? Can you please share this episode right here and let your friends, let your families, let your community know about this interview and, of course, about this podcast, The Impact Show as well. I thank you so much. I wish you an entire incredible holiday season and get ready for 2026. Until next time, remember, train hard, eat right, live inspired, and go create impact.